stop the presses. Turns out even top secret war plans can end up in the wrong group chat, like your aunt's casserole recipe sent to the entire soccer team. Yes, you heard that right. Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, claims he was accidentally looped into a private messaging thread with top US national security officials. These officials were busy discussing military strikes in Yemen. According to Goldberg, he assumed it must be a hoax, until he saw news of actual explosions on Twitter, real bombs, real war, real big oops. Apparently they were using an encrypted app called Signal, which was supposed to keep everything hush-hush, except of course someone typed a certain Jeffrey G instead of adding whoever they really meant. They added a well-known journalist. For a while, Goldberg just watched in disbelief as they all swapped top-secret comments about whether or not to bomb Houthi targets. Then, boom. On March 15th, bombs started to drop in Yemen, and Goldberg realized this was no prank text from a bored teenager. Imagine your phone buzzing at breakfast. Ding, a message from the government. No big deal, right? Just a side of scrambled eggs and a war plan.
So you're added to this group chat. You see some 18 or so other people on it. Among them appear to be senior national security and cabinet officials like Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, John Ratcliffe, Tulsi Gabbard, Stephen Miller, Steve Witkoff, Michael Waltz. How did you end up on this chat? And when do you realize it looks like you were added by mistake?
I was invited a couple of weeks ago to connect with Michael Waltz, the National Security Advisor. That didn't strike me as particularly strange, given my job and his job. A little while later, I'm added to a group chat with the people you just named. That seemed strange, but I kind of just ignored it a little bit. And then, it really became a very bizarre situation on Saturday, the 15th of March, when I was shared on a text in this group from somebody purporting to be Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. And this text contained operational military information, including the time that bombs were supposed to start dropping on Yemen. And this was 2 hours before that time. So I simply waited and stared at my phone. And sure enough, the American attack on Yemen began to be felt at about 1:30 Eastern or so, 1:50 Eastern. And that's when I realized that the chain was real. Until that point, I really had a deep suspicion that I was being spoofed or hoaxed or being led astray on a disinformation campaign, the rationale for which I can't figure out. But this all seems so improbable that I simply assumed that it couldn't be real.
Goldberg's story rocked the headlines, with CNN's Alex Marquardt describing it as something out of a farce. You can't make this stuff up. These high-level officials, a mix of top brass like the National Security Advisor, the Vice President, CIA Director, Secretary of Defense, and more, were hashing out the details of military strikes on the Houthis in Yemen. They debated how shipping routes might be threatened, and some worried that any delay would make us look indecisive. Then, in possibly the biggest understatement ever, one official typed, "If this leaks, we look bad." Well, they didn't just look bad, they looked absolutely stunned when they discovered the chat included the editor-in-chief of a major publication. Talk about your reply all nightmare. Ever accidentally forward a funny meme to your boss? Now imagine forwarding top secret war data to a reporter. Legal experts immediately flagged this fiasco as a possible violation of the Espionage Act, which protects national defense information. If top US officials are texting about battle plans, targets, weapons, you name it, well, that can raise all kinds of red flags. War is no joking matter, and these messages contained operational details. Lawyers interviewed by The Atlantic and others pointed out this could be a big no-no because it involved classified information. Even Leon Panetta, former CIA Director and Secretary of Defense, chimed in to say this was a serious blunder that should be investigated. Someone definitely messed up by mixing a journalist into the national security circle. Panetta even suggested that someone should get fired. With stakes this high, you can see why. If an adversary got that intel, things could have gone from messy to catastrophic very quickly. When you're discussing a secret bombing run, maybe skip the dancing emojis. Just a thought.
Well, it's obviously a very serious mistake on the part of whoever included Goldberg in this highly classified chain of command messaging that went on that involved war plans. To have had somebody from the Atlantic on that chain, without question, was a serious mistake. And I hope the White House takes this seriously, because the last thing you want to do when you're talking about war plans is to have a serious leak like this that could undermine the war plans, but also jeopardize lives. So I hope they take this seriously.
After bombs started dropping in Yemen on March 15th, the group chat messages got even more surreal. CIA Director John Ratcliffe supposedly responded with a good start, and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz allegedly fired off several cheerful emojis, as did CIA Director Steve Woodcock, who apparently decided a flexed bicep and 2 American flags were the perfect way to say, "We just went to war." Now, imagine Goldberg's reaction watching these high-ranking officials celebrate. He was still trying to confirm if this was a twisted dream or some bizarre movie script, but the incoming news from Yemen verified it was all happening in real time. US national security leaders continued their conversation, unaware an outsider, one who could publish everything, was reading along. Meanwhile, the White House simply spun it as thorough policy coordination. That's kind of like giving yourself a pat on the back for losing the car keys, but at least you thoroughly searched every couch cushion. Picture a high-stakes war plan overshadowed by the phrase, "I think we added the wrong Jeff." Now, the public wonders, who typed in Goldberg's number, and how did nobody notice? The National Security Council confirmed the chat was authentic, but said they were checking how this inadvertent ad happened. According to Panetta, the most concerning part isn't even the slip-up. It's that enemies of the US could have used this to their advantage if they had been the ones accidentally added. If the Houthis got this heads up, they might have turned the tables in a lethal way. Goldberg's story highlights more than just a comedic error. It points to potential chaos in how top US officials handle secret info. War decisions are supposed to be made with utmost care, but now they look more like a mistaken Zoom invite. Real missiles, real danger, and a comedic meltdown over who messed up the group chat. As investigations continue, experts say this reveals cracks in the chain of communication. For everyday folks, it's a big reminder. Double check your contact list when talking about anything sensitive, or just pick up an old school phone. The Middle East is no stranger to conflict, but this comedic fiasco adds a bizarre layer to the tension. Bombing decisions should never feel like a casual text exchange. Yet in this tale, they did. Whether or not heads roll for this mistake, the moral of the story is clear. Privacy and security are vital, and even the most powerful people in the world can bungle a chat. If you ever feel embarrassed about texting your crush by mistake, just remember, at least you didn't invite a journalist to your country's top secret war council. Stay tuned for more updates, and remember, when it comes to Middle East tensions, what seems like a Hollywood script can actually happen in real life.